In 2019, I was working at a warehouse for a vitamin company, packing boxes and doing basic customer service for a variety of practitioners across the US when my wife and I found out that we were pregnant. We were stunned and astonished. We hadn't been trying, it was a surprise. And yet, here we were faced with only a couple years into our marriage, a child, ready to be parents or trying to be. And now we had to face the reality of our work situation and how that was going to provide for children. For me, I took it really hard because I was doing art on the side and trying to take it seriously, but all the while still wrestling with video game addiction and wasting time on other things rather than pouring into my craft. And so I began to panic. I freaked out. I thought, no, God, not yet, not yet. I'm not ready for a kid. I'm not ready to provide for a family. I'm not ready to do any of these things. And I began to think, what are some other things I can do to propel myself forward in a rapid amount of time? What can I do in the next 9 months that will prepare me for being a father and a husband and someone who's ready to provide for this life? And so I began to look into schools and I began to look for promotions. I began to look for other work, anything I could do, because I thought, if I have another mouth to feed, I'd better get more serious about my life and really buckle down on becoming a man, right? I think even when you get married, the ideal is that you walk into the covenant with an understanding that you're there to serve and lead your wife. But oftentimes what happens is you kind of just get comfortable and you're like, okay, we're just going to keep living our lives together and that's it. Dual income, no kids. You get very comfortable in that lifestyle. And when the reality of having a child hits you, which is something we had planned for or thought we had planned for in the near future and not in the immediate, you kind of freak out a little bit. This wasn't the plan. I was very torn about having a kid. I wanted to be a dad, just not yet. And so the time wasn't right in my mind. But okay, Lord, you want us to have a child, so be it. But I'm not ready for one. I don't want this kid. This is what I thought internally. This is what I was wrestling with. I was shocked. I was ecstatic. I was happy. And I was terrified. I couldn't provide. I was making $17 an hour. I couldn't provide for a child. I thought I need to make at least $25 an hour to have a child. That's what I thought. And I was making $17.50, $18 an hour. And my wife was working too. So her income, together it made our lifestyle work, but adding a child into the mix, it didn't make any sense. So then we go to the first pregnancy appointment, right? OB appointment. And we're sitting there and the nurse tells us, you're having twins. And we thought, I was just mouth agape looking at my wife. What? There's two of them? We're having twin boys. That's what we found out. We're having twin boys. And we're both just like, I didn't even want one. And now we're going to have two. I'm terrified even. I'm double terrified. I'm triple terrified at this point. I don't know how to react. I was like, okay, this is a trial by fire. We're jumping right into being parents, 2 feet first, trial by fire, twin boys. Let's make it happen. All right, we're going to do it. The Lord will be with us. All right, let's go. I was still internally fighting this selfish thought that I don't want them. I'm not ready. It's an evil thought. And it's not because I didn't want kids. I just didn't want them yet. I was not spiritually, mentally, emotionally prepared to be a father, to be a dad. And to be clear, you learn a lot of this stuff on the job. It's not exactly something you can mentally prepare for that well. You will learn as you become a dad and step into that role. But I just was not expecting us to get pregnant, and especially not pregnant with twins. My wife makes a trip to another state to have a gender reveal party to our family members. And it's a boy, it's boys, right? Gender reveal party, it's boys. And everyone's ecstatic. More boys for the family, great. She comes home from that trip and I'm sitting in a cubicle on a Wednesday morning. She goes to her doctor's appointment. I'm sitting in my cubicle and my wife calls me. And it's pretty rare when my wife calls me at that point. And she says, we lost the twins. We lost the babies. And I just said, what? And she kind of calmly explained what had happened. And what had happened is at some point, and there is a high risk for this, one of the babies passed away and all of its nutrients went straight into the other, and it overloaded the second one and they both died simultaneously. It's called twin-to-twin transfusion. It's one of the risks of a twin pregnancy. It's very high risk. And so they both died. And we're 6 out of the 9 months into this pregnancy. Okay, we're well into this. Mentally prepared to be parents. Trying to prepare ourselves spiritually and financially to carry the burdens of having children. And we lost them and they died. But you can't just pass them like a miscarriage. It is a miscarriage, but you have to deliver them. So we sat in the hospital. And so my wife's first experience delivering babies in a hospital room were her dead children. 2 babies came out, pretty well developed little things. We gave them names. Their names are Kai and Mason. And they died. And up to this point, I had heard of people having miscarriages of these losses. And maybe callously, not that there was no emotion to it, but I did not fully comprehend the emotional impact something like this would have on a soon-to-be mother and father. I thought, well, those babies are in heaven. The mom should be happy. They're with the Lord. What's the big deal? But I understood then why parents feel so strongly about miscarriages and the loss of that life, no matter how early or late it is. It's the preparation that you do mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the anticipation of meeting this creature, your gift from God. That season was kind of a Job moment for me. I just had to say, you are God, I am not. I wasn't there when you created the world. I wasn't there when when you gave birth to the deer in the woods. I wasn't there when you birthed the flowers. I wasn't there when you caused the oceans to rage. Like, you are God and I am not. I am the creature. You're the creator. So if you want to take this life from me and take this life from us, that's your prerogative, Lord. It's your prerogative to do that. And I know those kids are going to be more loved than I could have ever loved them in the Father's arms. I know that. And it put in perspective my selfishness of children are a gift. Our kids are a gift. And the Lord is asking us to steward it. It was out of that I became prepared to receive the next gift. Even if we're not financially ready, even if we're not emotionally ready, Lord, spiritually, I am ready to receive the gift of children the next time this happens, and I will receive it gladly. And I will not take for granted life in my wife's belly. I will not take for granted your goodness to give us a child. But about a week went by, and I hadn't shed a tear. I went home that day from the office, and I sat with my wife, and she bawled her eyes out on the bed next to me. All of it hit her at once. The reality of what had happened hit her when she came back from the appointment. I went home from work immediately. I told my boss. My boss started crying because she was so happy for us. And then now she's devastated. She was a mom. She knew what that was like. So she says, go home, be with your wife. Which, thank you for that. Thank you. If you ever watch this. It was gracious of her. So I go home to be with my wife, and we sit on the bed together. She just cries and cries in my arms. And I felt nothing. I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I felt really nothing. I wasn't sad. I wasn't upset. Part of me was optimistic. Man, dodged a bullet. I'm just being honest here. That's what I felt. It was a bittersweet thing. On the one hand, I wanted to have a son, or 2 sons rather. On the other side, I thought, this is a second chance. Now we can get our life together and ready for when we are prepared to have a family. That was my bittersweet take. And I remember laying in bed one night, and I was just praying to the Lord silently. I said, Lord, I want to weep. I want to weep over my dead children. mind you, we hadn't had the delivery yet, so we haven't even been to the hospital. And I'm laying in bed and I just think, Lord, allow me to weep for my children. And all of a sudden, my vision pulled out from where I was laying down and it shifted over to my wife, who was laying down next to me. And I saw her belly full of the children, and the belly became a rock. And from behind the rock came my two boys. And there was Kai, and he was full of life. And he runs, and his feet, he's barefoot, and he crosses some field of grass. And he just runs. He just runs straight to the Lord's arms. And I couldn't see Jesus or his face. I just got an impression of a being made of light, and I just knew it was him. And he wraps them in his arms. And he gives the first one a hug, and he motions for the second kid to come over and out of the rock. The second boy comes, and it's Mason. And he's a little bit more shy, and he runs across the same field. And he takes them both in his arms, gives them hugs. And if you think I'm crying now, I mean that first night, I bawled my eyes out, man. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I immediately just missed them, loved them, wanted them, and was overwhelmed by the Father's love for them. Sorry. And again, I just had this realization, like, he's going to be a better father than I ever could have been. They're not my children, they're his, and I'm just here to steward them. So he called them home. I think what really got to me wasn't just the beauty of it all, though that struck me, obviously, but they turned and they said, "Hi, Dad." Sorry. Sorry. And so, and after that, we had to go to the hospital and deliver them, and we got to see them with our own eyes. Just these underdeveloped human baby boys who spiritually were not with the Lord, their souls safe in the Father's arms. And out of that grief and that pain, my wife and I spent more time together in intimacy, physical intimacy. So we just started having more sex as a result. And we had discussed, okay, let's be deliberate about the next child. And within 2 months, maybe even a few weeks, we were pregnant again. And once again, I almost immediately ran to being terrified and scared and not wanting it. But instead, I chose to say, thank you, Lord. Thank you for the gift that is a child. I will steward this one. We are ready. Even if we're not financially ready, Lord, we're ready spiritually to receive this gift from you. And so that vision the Lord showed me that one night was firmly in my head. I could see their faces, that whole scene over and over and over again, so clearly in my head. As we approached the 9-month mark for our new baby girl that we were going to have, I thought, I want to tell a story about the loss of our children for my wife and give it to her as a gift. And so it took me about 2 or 3 months to make, but I made this animated short you're about to see. And I gave it to her while she was in the delivery room for our baby girl. She wept and she loved it. And so without further ado, I present to you the animated short I made called Cuckoo.